So my name is Nadia Bodkin. I'm here with the rare advocacy movement. I personally have 3 rare diseases. I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome type 1, alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency, and beta thalassemia. Good. Thank God that they were all fit for life and they didn't affect my cognition, so I was able to get my PharmD and my master's in science, specifically in genetics. So just so for those of you that don't know or aren't familiar with the rare advocacy movement, we're essentially a virtual group of rare advocacy leaders that are focused on documenting the landscape of the rare disease community so that we can help encourage more collaboration amongst the different stakeholders within industry. And the goal is essentially to become a center of excellence, and also over the years, we've been kind of functioning as a think tank for different types of innovative, collaborative opportunities with industry. So if you go to the website, you can check out some companies that we've already partnered with, and it's all for the purpose of documenting the advocacy landscape. Regarding the right to try, so there's been a lot of vocal advocacy leaders that have claimed that they do not support the right to try, including the National Organization for Rare Disorders, for all reasons that were expressed and shared with us by Allison. So we decided to just take a sample, an overall general sample of the rare disease community and see what the general views were. And as you can see, a majority voted that they were for a right to try, 57%. When we looked, this kind of surprised us because the advocacy leaders have been stating that they are not in support, but there hasn't been really a comprehensive website kind of breaking down the right to try and explaining it to the general public. So the actual title, right to try, seemed to confuse a lot of the general population that chose to share their opinion. So we looked deeper into the comments that all the individuals that claimed that they were in support of right to try, and a few of them gave some insightful answers as to why they were for it. And so I'll go over that in the next slide. Just to point out that over 22% doesn't either know enough, feel like they don't know enough in order to have an opinion, or doesn't have an opinion either way. 20% were against the right to try, and all of them had unanimous reasons that it was essentially because they felt that right to try does not protect the patients. So just to get a brief on who shared their opinion, 58% of respondents identified as patient advocates. Every patient identified themselves as an advocate. There were 2 different top sections, but it was unanimous. Every single patient claimed to be an advocate. 14% identified as caregivers. 5% identified as care partners. And just to share the difference between what a care partner is and a caregiver, caregivers are parental or guardians. Care partners are adults taking care of their loved ones that are not parental. So that could be a spouse, loved one, sibling, cousin, friend. And we saw that pharma actually voiced their opinion. Pharma and biotech industry, 6% responded, and there's a slide dedicated to that. And 6% identified as independent consultants, 5% as a friend, and 6% as others. Okay, so the patient advocates, they were very vocal. We lumped most of them that were patient advocates, caregivers, and care partners. Some of the examples of the comments that we received that voted in favor of right to try were, just to read a few: every life matters, everyone deserves a right to try. I have a son with a rare disease, and you bet if there is something out there that he could try to help ease his pain, the quality of life, and give him hope, I'm done for it. I think if you have a terminal illness and if there's a chance to try a medication, you should be able to try. So there's a common air of around the comments. So all the comments that accompanied the respondents claiming to hold a position being for a right to try reciprocated a misconception that right to try provides terminal patients with the ultimate guaranteed right to try experimental products by eliminating the excuse that several pharmaceutical companies have used in the past by saying that FDA limits their ability to make their products available. And so we've seen that over the years, a lot of patients, they're desperate for something, some potential hope. And so when there may be a company looking into their indication, that increases hope, and a lot of the common reasons why, if there's a clinical trial going on and they don't qualify for whatever reason, and there's no expanded access program or compassionate use program established, a lot of patients are told that it's because the FDA is not allowing them to grant access, and that has helped to encourage this misconception. So we've pretty much received a lot of comments with like the ones I read to you. So what we're planning on doing is actually taking all those comments and working with experts like Allison, and there's several expanded access, compassionate use, and right to try experts that are familiar with all different laws, and essentially debunking the myths so that there could be a landing page for patients to go to and educate themselves so they can make more informed decisions. And so when putting the slide together, I struggled a bit in regards to how to present one of the comments that were for a right to try that kind of had a good point. And so it's in the pharma section. A lot of the people from pharma didn't have an opinion. They just were saying either way, they don't care. But there was one advocacy pharma collaboration that was for a right to try, and their opinion was essentially they're a nonprofit, and there's this dynamic is happening a lot in the rare disease space where nonprofits are partnering with independent scientists or academic researchers, and they are coming together to develop some sort of treatment option. So this specific group has developed a ligand, and they're ultra rare. There's only 8 patients that are identified in the world. And so these patients are children, and so they're not going to make it into adulthood. Past puberty, they decline rapidly, and it's extremely painful. And so there's now a potential ligand that was curative in the animal studies. And so now right to try, because funds are low, they were looking at pursuing right to try to potentially get this treatment to these children to see if it could save their lives, because the children are going to pass away anyways. And so that was something that was a potential. However, I got involved with the initiative, and we connected with the FDA, and the FDA has actually been very helpful in looking at the science and establishing what the next steps are responsibly, and has actually went down the way to paving a path for this novel type of collaboration where the FDA is very used to seeing for-profit sponsors that are from the pharma biotech industry, but not nonprofit partnerships between academic institutions and nonprofit advocates. So there really isn't an expedited pathway for this, but all of the individuals that we have spoken to so far have been very responsive in terms of how to move forward. And so while it hasn't been decided yet which path to take, it's been a parallel comparison. And so potentially Right to Try might be an alternative if the funding is low and the time frame, because these children are aging. And so if past phase one, the funding isn't there to expedite it to the next phase, through FDA, they may choose, the foundation may choose to go ahead and use Right to Try in order to get the medication or the potential treatment option to the community. So that's pretty much what I have to share with you. I have no problem answering any questions. I just wanted to let you all know that RAM is open, is an advocacy landscape with several different rare disease leaders and they're all open to collaborating and working with different sponsors to try and better document the rare disease landscapes.